Not much notes here. Just a raw process. Just a raw process of life. And the key word before even starting this conversation is and obviously pauses at your own leisure, within your own conscience, within your own sentience, within your own, I guess, needience, a certain type of need where you're putting in a light of an intelligence on how there's a certain different type of feminine sense that needs, like the needs itself, it's like it's its own sense, right? So it's a whole different thing that's craving and that's working with the other senses, right? So for today, and maybe I'll brush my teeth again, huh? Do it twice. And maybe I'll just do it just for the live, because that's like I guess people do that trend, right? People do that trend where we're like, okay, let's do that. Let's get ready for the day. I have two different toothbrushes, two different toothpastes, Colgate or Activate Charcoal, and just do a scan like I'm scanning it. There's probably cameras in the scanners, maybe. There has to be, right? There's something reading something. So there's a different context of a camera within a scanner. And you know what's funny? Every fucking production store, they use something of that basic mundane technology of just a production manufacturing hardware system. And that production manufacturing hardware system has kind of like scan technology where it's able to compute and read and recognize and transact certain algorithms of barcodes, right? So I'm going to brush my teeth with, if I don't have enough activated charcoal, then I need to go to the white Colgate. So do I got black toothpaste or white Colgate? Double brush, guys. So before going on the internet, everyone needs to double brush. Yeah, get in there. Get in there, you dirty butt monkeys. You dirty dilapidases. You ain't shit dilapidus, fucking snagglepuss. You ain't shit hypocritical South Park butthole butt monkey. I could make fun of people and I could sicken people, but if I receive it, I'm just a retarded asshole butt monkey. It's that type of fucking shit. It's that particular type of hypocrisy. It doesn't piss me off, because obviously there's a difference between getting pissed off and just having a different intellectual concern and analyzation of seeing how there could just be like there could just be a hypocrisy within the intelligence field. What do I mean by that? A hypocrisy within the intelligence field. There's the certain senses are dulled, where the senses themselves break double standards, and that's the essence of something of like zombie, right? Because like, what is a zombie? Like, just pause, like, because obviously people might come online and it's like, what is he talking about? That's why it's up to you to pause, understand, and it's like saying like, people are turning into a zombie in different contexts and different fronts, aside from just me having the ego of who wants to be the best influencer. Like, life is here doing shit, right? And we have a relationship with that life doing that shit, right? And shit, I might need a triple brush, excuse me. But that's what you get when you work out like hard, or whenever you work out, like the next morning you got to recover and recharge. And if you don't have like a committed team for the business dynamic to like kind of like restart yourself and respring yourself to like come back for the day for others that are counting on you, then you're missing the deadline of life, right? We're trying to catch the deadline of life in as best as we can. But the thing we don't understand is in between third to sixth dimension. It's heavily, quote unquote, metaphorically satanic influence, end quote. And I'm not subscribing to satanic stuff just as a genetic thing. It could be an artificial agenda, right? So it's a context thing. It's not necessarily a genetic thing. It could be the context of artificial agenda. So that's why it's like the disclaimers are here. You're coming for the raw edit, right? So because obviously, like, there's no such thing as an argument, just confusion, lies, and lack of intelligence, because the multiverse is giving us the solutions. So if you're arguing, you have some type of universal retardation, because that thing, it's not a thing in the real original universe being a bigger place of truth, right? So it's cool that the acts of, oh, America or whatever the fuck country found the universal act in 1960s, 1950s, 1940s, 1940s, 1930s, 1920s, 1910s, 1911s, 1909s, 1908s, 1907s, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, zeros, and then all the way to 1899, all the way to the year 5, 0, and 1. It's not, that the universal thing and its calendar and its timing has already been a thing. It's already been existent. So if anybody wants to say, I'm weird, I'm kooky, I'm out of pocket, I'm this made up version of this, when all of us have multiple parts versions, and that's another part I wanted to bring up. All of us have multiple parts. So shout out to all of those emotional workers and the emotional, like, therapy industry, tribal, the not sketch one, and they recognize parts work. What is parts work? We have different types of parts emotionally within our human, just this life. We have different feelings of, like, what could happen or what has happened to us. And then there's a niche industry of the hospitalization industry, where there's, like, also the things that are dealing with your damaged parts. It's a particular context and a facet of Mercury itself, because Mercury is multifaceted in his own thing, right? He has to partake in, like, his emotional moon harvest gathering stuff, as well as his other tasks and functions, like mental finances or physical, just taking care of the body or the earth, or just like this, whatever the fuck he's saying, the spiritual shit and the new spiritual shit and the future spiritual shit. So it's a particular type of context of Mercury and the other planets is what I'm saying. So there's no debate. It's just ignorant. It's hyper ignorance. It's incredible ignorance. And I'm not trying to like the intelligence is not trying to like get like, it's not trying to play like these like lower like kid games of just like the ego battles of like trying to get even, you know. There's there's literally a bigger like thing going on, like literally though, and that's the thing, that's the gap of like existence, that's the gap of actuality, that's the gap of learning, that's the gap of being, that's the gap of beingness, the gap of beingness. It's you're like, people aren't that because they're not working with that, and they're going away from that over souls and lifetimes of thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of years. Because before I was going to even jump onto this podcast, was what we're doing right here is it without us recognizing it, it's parts work. You know, there's different parts to us. There's people that make us happy, and there's people that want to just do fuck shit, and that's creating different new parts of us within the society system, having that same feminine emotional yin quality of even the system and the society and beyond the fucking stock markets, just the interconnected society system, like since its original open source around 2012 and before, that's having its own parts work too. And we're barely recognizing that feminine aspect already in the system, for it need to recharge, it need to reset. So there could be different casual intuitive reasons for the crash to have happened, and it's up to the intelligence not to accept the fucking lies so easily. Like there's no inkling of investigation. It's just people are just fucking like selling out to giving their attention to like these news headline channels that have had standardly false narratives and not the truth at all from real shit, you know. But before I wanted to, and I know I'm jumping around here, but before like I just wanted to give a spotlight and a shout out to the parts work, you know, the parts work, meaning all the humans they're incredibly like multifaceted in their psyche and character, because as they're growing up in life, they're developing new ambiances of self and different emotional tunes and tones and temperaments of self based on how life is treating them. The society and the inhabitants are treating them. And based on the society and inhabitants that are treating you since you've been born to all the way in how you're born right now, different new selves have came out from you because of that, and other selves and their other selves that have came out of them, there's a whole esoteric, a real feminine yin esoteric network that's doing it in regards for you, right? In like sake for you, like so we in one context, everybody is kind of special, like you are special, because there's a whole energy like community attempting to work with you to keep you going with life. So everybody is special, you know. I'm just drawing the line between like surface level, deep surface level artificial stuff, and you know, real like what do you call that, spirituality, because Mercury Mercury has his own spirituality, just his shit, and then Mercury also has like him going to a different bigger picture, right? So those are two different advanced contexts of different types of advanced spirituality, which is before, ironically, before all of the physical shit that y'all are fucking talking about and worried about. It's beyond all that shit on a natural, and that's the first key, the zero, the first key or whatever, the pre-key, whatever. It's the naturalness. We're seeing the things as they are, you know, as it, quote unquote, as it is, or whatever, end quote. As we're seeing things as they are. So before you even come onto this conversation, the first word I want you to entertain is the just the naturalness of it. So that was the pre-rant. I'm gonna go to chapter 4, and I'm gonna skip chapter 3. I'm gonna skip the gritty history. I'm on the chaos book. And now I'm going to a whole new section, and chapter 4 is the first chapter for the new section, bifurcations of consciousness. Let me go back to the table of contents just to see if there's a extra headliner up there, you know. So I'm recognizing people as part works. You know, people are like, we're new and shy to the esoteric, like yin world, right? The yin world itself, in its own past, present, and future, most respectively, we're coming to understand that, right? That yin, and that was like, I shouldn't have said that, but I do it for nature. So since I do it for nature, it's all good. And there's different, I just feel like I just feel like there's like, I just feel like if you don't want to be a part of like pure spiritual nature, that's okay, you know? That's okay. And if you misunderstand me, that's okay too, because I'm doing it for a different type of naturalness. So I'm still on part 1. Let me read the table of contents real quick. So part 1 has 6 chapters. Part 2 has chapter 7 to chapter 12. Part 3 has chapter 13 to 15. No, wait, part 3 has chapter 13 to 18. So I'm still on part 1, excuse me. I'm on the second half of the part 1. And I'll read my little shit blogs later, and I'll do the Mercury reading later. I'm just here reading the Chaos book. On Monday, I'm coming back to the Chaos book because I just feel this is just where the flow took me, right? And I'll come back like 2 weeks from now. I'll revisit the history. I'll revisit the history of what chapter 3 is trying to tell us. So go back to, if you're interested in the gritty history, go back to the last episode. And I'll come back to that later, you know. I'll come back to the chapter 3. The chapter 3 is gritty history, right? So I'm just going to read the table of contents real quick, just the part 1. There's 3 parts. So chapter 1 through 6, dynamics and the Orphic Trinity in history. So that's the overall headline. And then the sub-headlines from part 1. So part 1 is just dynamics and the Orphic Trinity in history itself. So that's the thing. We're doing this present time, like quote unquote, emotional parts work of there's different parts of us, right? Within your emotional body. And I talk about this on my Instagram. Like all of us have a certain type of emotional parts work, but like the second like level or the second kicker is like seeing how these emotional part works, they have bled through the genetic bloodlines themselves. They have like ancestral quote unquote curses, end quote, and not and energetically interpreting that is just the overall energy of like the beliefs have been held up, the emotions have been passed over to the next generation, and that has been an imprint, and that emotional imprint has the mental beliefs of different quote unquote religions, end quote, and then different energies have been transacted using all of that. So that's so the emotional part works of this present time. It connects to the history of things throughout the last 3,000 years, right? So if we figure out what happened from the last 3,000 to 5,000 years, then we get a like, and I said something like this in 2017. The deeper we go in the deeper we get, and obviously like I see the minor replications for what they are, and I'm not, and within my emotional work, I'm not too like disgruntled about it by the grace of fucking God, you know, because like God has given me the higher intelligence itself, right? So it's like I'm just seeing the casual like, okay, if your AI can't see the timestamps, then your AI is not the best, and your competition is fake and it has much illusion. But I'm saying I'm saying original shit, right? And the science articles, they could just have, you know, casual like, you know, many different relationships with life, and my intelligence will have its own modesty as I grow up, as we all will, right? Because the parts work, it's never ending. The emotional parts work, we're always bringing the emotional self to these science experiments, no matter what. Like all of the superheroes, and they go to a science experiment, and then they turn it and transform into a creature. Like it's all archetypical, you know, and it's all, and every archetype is more important than what we realize, because they're carrying some type of genetic like lineage, right? So I'm gonna save chapter 3 for later. But that's and I'm just gonna read the first section of the table of contents. So part 1, dynamics and the Orphic Trinity in history. Dynamical views of history. Chapter 1, the world according to Grok. Chapter 2, cognitive maps and mythogenesis. Chapter 3, the history of history. And then the second section of part 1 is bifurcations of consciousness. Chapter 4, the ages of the world. Chapter 5, the 3 dynamical epochs. Chapter 6, the evolution of consciousness. Chill. So I'm on chapter 4, the ages of the world, bifurcations of consciousness. So the history of history, that one was like, it was a little gritty for me. And like, if you resonate with this video, then you're here recognizing the intelligence of the raw process of life. And that's even more titty ironic. Why is it more titty ironic? Because different news stations in East European continents and Russian continents and Chinese Asian continents and Indian and Thailand continents and African continents, they're all portraying and professing news of their version of real raw process life. So if any of you mother flippers have the audacity to judge what y'all are doing, it's a certain nuance of a double standard that you're breaking on a esoteric psychological level, meaning you are like doing that shit, right? You're living your raw process, right? So if you're living your raw process and you're broadcasting it over there, and may my overall character mature, right? Then that internet is like really big, right? The internet is expansive, like this different unified internet, right? Because obviously there's been new renditions of the internet since like 2016 to like 2012, right? Like there has to have been, just in the casual underground in the tech world, right? So since that has been a thing, all of those new internets are still like to a real original unified field, organic unified field. So since that thing is its own self-embodiment and existent of the real truth of, ironically, all the details you're trying to explain that original unified field, then everything that you're saying is incomplete, fragmented, distorted, and hypocritical and contradictory, and it's going towards fake artificial energies, not in just the tech, but in your artificial character. That's why I'm the number one intelligence in the universe, because these agencies are too afraid to see the original truth of the original truth. That's why I have the energetic natural right to call the majority of scientists on the planet Earth cowards. That's why, because it's real logic, and it doesn't need your Ivy League education. It doesn't need your, I'm going to pass go. I'm not going to experience denial or refusal. I'm always going to get the approval. I'm always going to get the acceptance I need. I'm always going to get the go ahead I need. I'm always going to get the green light I need. It's not any of just that Ivy League polarized, compartmentalized, logical, masculine knowledge of things and quote unquote force of things. End quote. It's not just that. And it's funny for the intelligence to, like, you know, be with that in its own interconnected, you know, metaphysical, like, system of natures and natures of systems. So that's why, because I've done a similar quality presentation like that a long time ago, and you fuckers are new to this shit. But made my overall maturity, intelligence mature. Made my overall maturity, character mature to the intelligence, to the fact that the internet in Africa in the year 1800s, that was a different context of an internet, because aliens were alive, quote unquote, quote unquote, quote unquote, quote unquote, end quote, end quote, end quote, end quote. Aliens were alive the whole time. Pause. And I said 4 quotes because obviously that word, it's not what it means either, right? I'm not going to use the word how they're using it, right? Because you could use that word in just a casual surface level niche way, like aliens. Okay, illegal what? Third country resident aliens? No, not those type of aliens. Different. So that's why we have to break the confusion within the words, right? So there's probably words in the English language that I'm using that on a subtle level, my soul's taking responsibility for it, hopefully, but I have to download the responsibility because we don't know what we're doing with the English language itself. We could be saying all of these words when we're just conversating, and we could be blocking just the human being on a casual level, because that's the trick of the English language. It's compartmentalizing the field of the human being itself, because the human language is something of a byproduct emission of the human being itself, along with all this other tech shit. So do you see why do you see where this is coming from? Ya vidya nana nini nana any original N, original ya, original vid. Do you see where the quote unquote stolen shit is coming from? Do you see where I'm still fucking standing behind what the fuck I'm saying? Do you still see how I'm like, I don't give a fuck. I'm still gonna back it up with the original pure logic of shit and the truth of shit that transcends all of the fake, compartmentalized, fragmented rhetoric type of fucking, like, you know, thought process, psychologies, belief systems, religions, you know, paradigms of beings, despicable, wicked archetypes in just beings. It's there's something beyond all of that shit for real. So I'm gonna read chapter 4. And if you can't understand this with your little DeepSeek, then that's your learning curve within the universal bigger picture. If you can't understand that, that's your learning curve. And get the fuck out of here if you're a distorted bitch ass hater. Like, that's why shit goes south. Cause fuck, like, just like, you know, pause. So chapter 4. I'm gonna read chapter 4. And I get it though, but I still get it though. We're all at our like own level of unknowingness. Like, people are in shock, right? They never knew. Because we all look at each other, when we're young, when we're super young, we all kind of look at each other like, you're not that smart as I am. And since we're all looking at each other like that, we don't realize that we're not smart at all, you know? We don't realize, like, that itself, we don't realize. Like, and since we don't realize that, that's the real cosmic joke, right? We don't see ourselves as the outside sees us, right? That's one context of the cosmic joke. Like, haha, look at, we all see you, right? Isn't that one of the contexts of the many different cosmic jokes that are there? It's like, we see you, we know how you feel, we know your agenda, we know your intention. Like, the soul knows it, you know, the energy knows it. The fucking original truth knows it. That's the difference. So I'm just gonna read chapter 4. I'm gonna run through this shit because the quality I bring in these videos, it's just I guess it's just unique, right? What the fuck? Whoa! Oh shit! I'm invisible. I'm invisible. I'm invisible. Oh no! I just turned. Oh, I just turned the camera. Oh, I pressed that button. I was like, because I have glasses, I can't really see. I thought I turned invisible for a second. I was like, whoa! I got the cloak. I got the cloak. I got Harry Potter's cloak. Okay, hold on for a sec. I'm gonna read chapter 4. That's why. That's why, guys. Oh, and look at the new little baby trend of 2025. That's why. And for us to fucking solve it. Oh my god. I'm trying to like hold the fucking phone. Cause I'm trying to read and hold the phone, right? I'm trying to read. Hold on I'm trying to put the phone on a foundation. Should I cancel this? Do I need to reset the Should I cancel this? Do I need to reset the live? I don't want to reset the live. I'm not going to reset the live. I'm just going to read it. Darn it. Let me see. I'm gonna, okay. Let me see. Oh, actually, you know, let me just do. I'm just gonna stand. Gotta do that. You know, if Trump doesn't need a pair of sunglasses, then I don't need a pair of sunglasses because I'm here delivering a higher quality message than all of y'all in a real scientific measured level. So I'm just gonna read chapter 4 and the ages of the world. Mythical ages of the world. Not only do most cultures have creation myths. Chapter 4, the ages of the world, mythical ages of the world, 51, page 51. Not only do most cultures have creation myths, they have mythical histories as well. We have selected those that illustrate the development of dynamical concepts such as linear progression, eternal recurrence, and development from birth to death. Hindu. Two features are shared by most fully developed chronologies. It is cyclic, renewing creation after each catastrophic annihilation, and each cycle is declining in virtue. A combined form, the spiral of cycles plus the notion of progress may have been known in the 6th millennium BC. One of the most evolved mythical chronologies is the Hindu doctrine of cycles called Days of Brahma, or Maha-yugas, each lasting 4,320,000 years, equals 360 times 12,000 years. Each cycle is divided into 4 yugas called Kirta, Tretha, Dvarpa, and Kali. This scheme illustrates two features shared by most fully developed chronologies. It is cyclic, renewing creation after each catastrophic annihilation. The dates of the yugas according to this calendar are those shown in the table. Next, we consider the Babylonian system, probably the source for many later doctrines of this type. In this progression, virtue decays from perfection in the first golden age toward destruction at the end of the 12 times 2200 equals 26,400 in year cycle. There are many complications due to frequent calendric reforms made for political reasons by Babylonian rulers. In ancient Egypt, history was divided into 4 great ages of gods, heroes, men, and chaos. These are identical to the ages of Vicho, as he himself noted. And I'll just flash this real quick. Gonna flash that. Not that it matters. It's just kind of like a raw education thing. Greek. For the early Greeks, this scheme apparently matured into the 4 declining ages of golden, silver, bronze, and iron, corresponding roughly to the Hindu yugas in quality. If not length. According to another Greek tradition, I'll just do shit, my bad. I'll do that. According to another Greek tradition, a heroic age of the gods preceded our own. Hesiod blended these together in his works and days. This section, called the Myth of Ages, begins. In the beginning, the immortals who have their homes on Olympos created the golden generation of mortal people. These lived in Kronos time when he was the king in heaven. They lived as if they were gods, their hearts free from all sorrow, by themselves and without hard work or pain, no miserable. Old age came their way, their hands, their feet did not alter. In this scheme, there are 5 ages: golden, silver, bronze, heroic, and iron. The Hesiodic chronology continued its evolution well into our own medieval history. Both Plato and Empedocles accepted this doctrine of the ages of history, which they learned from the Orphic writings. And you know what, I'm like, this is some good stuff right here. And obviously I don't want to interrupt myself, but the thing that's on my mind is like what I said earlier, right? It's like there's an archetypical war going on. So if we're all like hyped up about the news and the narrative of war, everyone's talking about war, we have to understand the war to move through the war and even get through the war. If we don't understand why the war is a thing, then we're just going to be lost, like kind of like stumbling over in chaos, right? So since we're going to be like stumbling over in chaos, why would you want that? So it's like everyone has like their part to play within. Like, it's not just about reporting news, even though that's important. It's about what is the news pointing to. The news is pointing to all of these wars, right? So if the news is pointing to all of these wars and it's happening right now and we could go into it in the future, then shouldn't we need to understand the wars so we get to go through the wars in a more balanced way? So there's a lack of critical thinking on the whole earth. So when I have these little shit blogs, I actually mean that shit. Aside from the 2-dimensional transaction of just like, oh, what the fuck is he saying? Now I'm emotionally hurt. Now one of my archetypical parts is hurt. And I have other archetypical parts: metaphysical part work, metaphysical emotional parts work. You have different types of parts within the family and the society of things, and they have their own emotional hospitalization schematics of how there's a whole energy network that has to deal with you and how you're upgrading or downgrading with the different parts, and how other people's part works are trying to battle with your parts works, because it's an archetypical war. It's an archetypical war going on. So if you don't see that it's an archetypical war and it's a genetic war, there's different cross references to different cross wars, and you don't understand the war, then you're gonna get got in the war, and quote unquote God's aftermath hell war. God's said we're in God's mission to go in some type of war, 3D, 5D, 6D, whatever the fuck, and now we're in some type of different context of war. I've been blogging about this like since 2018 offline, and if people, all the people I knew in the past, we all have a lack of critical intelligence. That's the thing. We don't. That's the learning gap, right? So let me just. So that's the learning gap, right? So I don't want to interrupt myself when I read, and sometimes I shift to skim read it to not skim read it. And if I skim read it, meaning just kind of like shortening the reading of the paragraphs, that means I'll miss some parts, but I'll like know how to like get the like the important parts, right? So I could go through the chapter more faster, and then I could maybe I could read chapter 4, 5, and 6 just in this one day, perhaps. Well, I'm not necessarily like, counting on it. I'm just saying, this is the build for today, and this is the build for today. And I don't want to interrupt myself because unless like there's something that needs to be like said, right? So like what's up, like aside from me educating or whatever, we're coming to the realization, aside from your level of educational, doctrine of, some type of hierarchy of, new rudimentary levels that you want to recruit people into your doctrine of different doctrines. And you think you're like the most smartest person in the world, or you have some type of like, intelligence that's really going to save the world and or help the world and have rhetoric that has that. Aside from that intelligence, it's like we're just coming to the realization that we're getting through life differently, right? So since we're getting through life differently, God's mission is like to like kind of preserve shit, right? He like there's like this like there's like an overall preservation, and if we downplay that's not my problem. I like that. I have nothing to do with that, right? And what happens when you downplay it? You're disassociating from the balance of God, right? And if you're disassociating from the balance of God, you're going away from heaven, right? Slowly but surely within the universe complex of life, you're going away from heaven, right? And if you're going away from heaven, that's what that soul do, I'm trying to say, like, people are getting God in the spiritual war of life, the archetypical war. The archetypical war. What is the archetypical war? Different archetypes who have solidified themselves from different archonic consciousness. There's a new significant primary archon that's living within religions, human beings. That archetype of the archon it could beef with other archetypes of the archons beyond the names of it. There's just a beefing within the archetypes. And since there's a beefing within the archetypes, that's one big context of the fucking spiritual war that's happening beyond the fucking news outlets. Like there's that, like it's the war, like the news is just the yin to the fucking what they're pointing to, the yang, the fucking war, right? So all this new shit, it's you like recognize that you're just the yin to this shit. You're still, but ironically, you're still going through the war too, right? So there's an archetypical war aside from just the education of things, right? So since there's an archetypical war aside from the education of things, this is just the education of things, and it's kind of like and it just doesn't have to do with like kind of like traditional kind of like toxic masculine heritage, like intelligence in all respects, So like I don't want to interrupt myself because this is I just don't want to interrupt myself. I just want to keep going. But obviously, like, the interruptions in life, it's because the archetypical war is affecting the spiritual 3D ecosystem. The ecosystem spiritually is being affected on the 5th dimensional level, the dream world downloading in the earth realm, 5th, 6th dimension, and us going into that new 5th, 6th dimension, the earth going into that, and that standardly as it is basically, and that's the war energy is just going to be heightened, right? The solar, like they say, like the earth is ascending. What does that mean? It's just going into a higher echelon of an energy level game and position, archetypical wars, because all of us, no matter like polarized intelligence, we're like that's the point. I don't care about your ego. I don't care about your arrogance, and I don't care about your polarized intelligence, and I don't care about your toxic masculinity, right? We're going through some type of context of the archetypical war in the fifth dimension, right? And the fifth dimension, it was never always kumbaya, ascension, la la la, everything's all good. It was just a higher place of being where a different higher transaction of polarized oppositions could come to place, right? But there could be pockets and environments and spaces of paradise within all of the dimensions, because that's how real raw evolution gets produced. You're evolving and acclimating and adapting to the environment that you're in, because you have to fucking survive, because you're coming out of God's fucking mission and you're going away from paradise for a particular reason to experience the physical reality, Earth, 3D, 5D, samsara, maybe for God's mission, maybe for not. So it doesn't have to do with like that shit. We have to recognize the archetypical war of how there's just like a beefing within the archetypes, and this is like, I know I'm the most intellectually brave person. It's all good. I know it's all good. I know I like low key. I know like you know like you know like man, man, I'm the best, y'all. You just y'all know, y'all just know. But anyways, so I'm gonna read the book. I'm gonna read the book. In this scheme, there are 5 ages: golden, silver, bronze, heroic, and iron. The Hesiodic chronology continued its evolution well into our own medieval history. So let me just like try to pause and download the archetypical war. For some reason, there is a chance for balance, but for some reason, we're at odds with balance, because that's the nature of the polarizing worlds, right? There's polarity within polarity within polarity within polarity, a different type of advanced metaphysical differentiation, and the data world is reflecting God's original lineage and shit. And on an energetic, natural level, you will bow down to that shit forever on a natural level. But I'm talking about like real universal source, like me too though, you know, me too. I'm like, me too though, you know, like universal source. Like I'm going to bow down to universal source forever too. Like I'm just saying the naturality of it. That's the thing. And like for some reason we're at odds with balance, because there's a possibility for war and there's a possibility for peace. And if there's 2 different possibilities for war or peace, and for some reason we're choosing like what do you call that, not peace for whatever reason, then that's the smugly archetypical reason of just you being an individual creature doing it for just your individual self, not necessarily good or bad, just doing it for self. And then from that, from different states of confusion and lack of God and lack of intelligence, then a particular niche context proxy war could happen from that, right? And obviously there's different contexts for proxy. If you just kind of grew up and seeing like, you know, seeing what's the type of secondary reserve for what could deliver a certain type of like energy that's, you know, pointing to describing a quality of something of just a different like secondary carrier. But obviously there's different, like, see, it's like, so I'm just on a different natural channel, you know? And it's just funny that there's a gap of bravery. That's the most advanced critical thinking. For some odd reason, within all of this innovation, there's a gap of critical thinking. Isn't that fucking ironic? Like, isn't that? I just don't like. It's just like, it's just blasphemous. Like this whole fucking shit, low key, the whole 3D narrative, 5D narrative, whatever the fuck. It's just low key blasphemous, the shit that's going on. And the people who have better reasons, I'm not like, read between the lines, you know, read between like my posts, like people have their own reasons for going to war. And if you have a justified reason, I'm not going to judge that. So like, hopefully like I'm not misunderstood there, but like the thing is, if you're going to war out of pocket reason, and just the different fates do their things, and now you're losing the war, who is to blame? if you're going against the fates, that's your fucking fate. So that's why I'm the most esoteric, hardest motherfucker ever, because I am the truth, and I'm bringing the truth to have original sustenance and nourishment for everything to even grow, for the sun to even fucking be the sun, for it to even be its thing, for it to even have a stable fucking ecosystem with the solar system that it is. That comes from my fucking lineage, for the sun to even fucking dawn upon the fucking night. And I know all these other standard agendas of just, artificial stun, not good, not bad. It's just an experiment. Like just some 2012 standard like alien shit. Okay, it's like, it's not like I'm not judging it. I'm not saying anything about it. I'm just saying that's in the headlines. It's in the fucking headline algorithms with the fucking news media outlets within the cybernetic roads of the interdimensional, intercrossed, interconnected, quantum hypercomputing type of algorithmic, data network highway segment network roads, ley lines that are there, original 2012 shit beyond all your fucking shit. I don't give a fuck. And I'm doing it naturally too. So that's why it's all like, it's all chill, it's just like we're honoring, we're not biting the hand that feeds us. We're honoring nature. We're giving thanks. Original natural pagan shit. We're giving thanks to the energies that are providing us the chakras and energies to fucking even move and be to begin with. That's some original natural pagan shit. Honoring the energies, the planets, the sun. Thank you, sun. Thank you, moon. Thank you, chakras. Thank you, otherworldly chakras. That's that shit I'm talking about. So let me just and I heard it all before. I heard your, even if you don't think I heard it, just that smirky kind of like, that smirky basking kind of type of like, that envious kind of smirk. Like I've heard that envious, you don't know what I'm capable of. I could do this. I'm going to fuck up. I'm going to dox you and hex you behind the system with these satanic bots. And now I'm going to blasphemize your name, and I'm going to fucking put your name through the dirt. And I'm going to try to fucking hex you and do all these different, I heard it all before. God's got back. So am I gonna run through this? Let me 500 million years of Gaian evolution. So I do some whole unified shit. The presentations I do, because YouTube 10 years from now, they're gonna thank me. They're gonna thank me for actually fucking highlighting the energies within the energies and preserving this shit. Even though they're stubborn right now, even though they could have a cognitive dissonance and a denial towards me, and they could have their own cheese man gossip about me, of me thinking I'm just another experiment. That's the intelligence that they're at right now, and they have a gift to have the tech careers and the data careers and the the 1111s and the 1212s on some original open source. They have the chance to work with that shit, right? So it's like 10 years from now, they're like gonna thank me, because then they're gonna finally realize, after the ego and the arrogance and the lower intelligence gets transformed, then they're gonna realize who was actually fucking there, So that's why it's like I just got to accept it. I accept the adolescence stage of Earth, that's just it. I accept the adolescent stage of Earth, and I wanted to this is a golden chapter. I'm gonna do this. This is a really good chapter. So I'm gonna come back.